Welcome to Cody's Movie Cave, where today we're going to discuss Escape from New York, about Kurt Russell's movie, Call Me Snake. So yeah, Escape from New York. Movie come out in 1981, and it's set in an alternate future of 1997. That's right. That was the future then because, I mean, it's 1981, people. Come on. But anyway, the story is U.S. President, played by Donald Pleasence, whose plane crashes into New York, which has now been turned into a maximum security prison where the worst of the worst scumbags go, right? And so here you got the world's most powerful leader, President of the United States, in the world's most terrible hellhole on earth, alternate New York City prison. What do you do? What do you do, people? What do you do? Well, Lee Van Cleef, the colonel, the guy that plays the colonel, gets this wild idea. He's got 24 hours to come up with a plan, so he snags Snake Plissken fresh off the prison bus, right off of the processing line to come do a mission for him. And Snake's like, why do I want to do that? What's in it for me? And so the colonel's like, well, you get your freedom, Snake, and you get out of here and you can go and do whatever you want to do. Well, Snake agrees, but here's the catch. While giving him some injections, some health shots, if you will, into his neck, they implant a bomb the size of a pencil head. Not enough to cause a major explosion, about the size of a pinhead. Just enough to open up both arteries. Enough to kill you. And so Snake goes berserk and he's like, what the crap did you do to me? And so he reluctantly goes on this suicide mission to get the president. And you know, it's funny enough you say suicide, because Suicide Squad was a lot inspired by Escape from New York. If you noticed, you got the convict who is recruited for a top secret mission, who has a bomb inside their head. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Anyway, great movie. For 1980s, you know, this movie was spectacular. The effects, like I said, you can't go in expecting CGI. It's the 80s. But Kurt Russell, watch this movie alone for Kurt Russell's performance. Man, oh man. Because you got to think, this was right here, early 80s, late 70s. He's coming off of his big, you know, Disney kid actor thing, if you will. And so he begged and pleaded with the studios, with John Carpenter. He wanted this role so bad to be able to shed that child star Disney persona. And boy, did he. Tough guy, Snake Plissken. Tough as they come, right? It was actually Kurt's idea for the eye patch. He's the one that kind of pitched that. You know, he wanted to do it. Probably drawing inspiration off of one of his heroes, John Wayne from True Grit. If you can tell in his performance, he's also, he's been told in many interviews that he used Kurt Russell's mannerisms and voice to kind of bring Snake Plissken to life, which I thought was very cool. And you can tell by the way he whispers and talks through his teeth, you know, Snake. Anyway, so yeah, Snake Plissken is this ex-Special Forces, just to give you a little backstory, a little history on the character. He's this ex-Special Forces soldier who lost an eye in some kind of futuristic war. And they kind of give you a little bit of a hint to that when Lee Van Cleef and Kurt Russell's characters are discussing and talking. But now he's kind of leaned more toward the outlaw life, bank robber, gunslinger, guns for hire. And actually in an alternate director's cut, an alternate opening scene features the bank robbery that Snake Plissken is actually performing that gets him thrown into jail. So I thought that was really cool. You can Google that and look it up. But yeah, really good movie, man. I mean, at the time, it was just ahead of its game, you know, ahead of its time. Original story, fantastic plot, you know, with real big stakes. I mean, it was just good. Kurt Russell has been known to say that this is his favorite role that he's played to date. Snake Plissken, Kurt Russell's favorite character he's ever played. And I gotta agree, one of my favorite Kurt Russell roles for sure. Directed by John Carpenter, who at the time was more a horror genre director, so this was really his first foray into action. Did it fantastic, did a great job, because he also brings in his horror elements into this film. It has some creepy moments and some intense scenes, not scary but intense, and so he really lends that gift and that skill set to this movie. And like I said, great cast: Kurt Russell, Lee Van Cleef in one of his more final roles before he passed on. It's got Ernest Borgnine as Cabby, the fast-talking taxi driver that's inside New York, and it's got Donald Pleasant, who plays the president who gets captured. And interestingly enough, in the article, Donald Pleasant said that he drew from his own real-life wartime experience as a prisoner of war to sort of get in the whole mindset of the president who's been captured by this guerrilla band of criminals. And so he can really, you can tell he's terrified as all crap, in this movie. So he does a fantastic job. Another little tidbit of trivia and news for you is that the opening scene, right, the opening monologue narration is narrated by the voice of Jamie Lee Curtis. Bet you didn't know that. Now when you rewatch it, you can kind of hear, and you'll be like, oh yeah, I hear it now. But yeah, longtime collaborator with John Carpenter, who she played Laurie Strode in Halloween. So yeah, he brought her back kind of to do the voice of this open narration for the film. Good movie. One of my all-time 80s favorite. It's 80s action amped up at its finest. I'm telling you, it is a ride from start to finish. It's not a long movie. It's like an hour and 30, hour and 40 minutes, but it gets the job done. It tells you what it needs to tell you, and it entertains you as all get out. I'm telling you, it's a great film to check out if you hadn't seen it. At the time, it didn't really do that, great at the box office. It did solid numbers, but when you had stuff like Mad Max and all those coming out, the market was kind of saturated at the time with these post-apocalyptic sci-fi movies. But since then, it's kind of become a cult classic. It's sort of become a cult pop culture type movie. You hear Kurt Russell, you think Kurt Russell is the eye patch wearing Snake Plissken. Like I said, it's one of my all-time favorite action 80s heroes. Got the poster up right over there, which was hard to find, by the way, but I found it finally after looking. This movie went on to spawn a sequel, Escape from LA, which in its own right is good. A lot of people didn't like it and hated on it, but I gotta say, it's one of my guilty pleasures. I like it. It's cheesy and it's campy, but it's good. The story's pretty much the same, but I'm telling you, it's got Kurt Russell with an eye patch playing one of the toughest, baddest hombres alive. I'm gonna watch it. So yeah, there was some talks about them rebooting the movie and recasting it, but thankfully that fell through because there's nobody else that can play Snake but Snake, but Kurt Russell. So if they do anything, they need to bring back like a legacy sequel or something with the older Snake Plissken, Kurt Russell. And he's even said that he'd be open and interested to that, so Hollywood, get on that. Anyway, Escape from New York's rated R. It's rated R for a reason, because even though it's in the 80s, it was still pretty raunchy, still pretty violent, so this is a grown-up movie, guys. With that said, I'm going to play you out to the theme. As we say around here in Cody's Movie Cave, opinions are like butts. Everybody's got one. Some of them stink. And this is Snake Plissken's opinion. Escape from New York. Check it out. Later.
(1988). The crime rate in the United States rises 400%. 1991. The United States Police Force is formed. 1997. New York City is a walled maximum security prison. John Carpenter's Escape from New York. Kurt Russell. Lee Van Cleef. Ernest Borgnine. Donald Pleasance. Isaac Hayes. Season Hubley. Harry Dean Stanton as Brain. And Adrienne Barbeau as Maggie. John Carpenter's Escape from New York. The ultimate adventure of escape and survival.